Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm Jeremy,
I'm Alan.
and you are officially tuned into the GG Dispatch. Each week on Tuesday, bright and early, we consolidate the week's biggest headlines in gaming news. Whether you're listening in on your commute, during your workout, or you just have us on in the background, we want to thank you for listening in. And speaking of thanks, another thank you to the kind folks at Audio Technica for providing the microphones that both Alan and I are using, the AT2020 USB-X. Whether you're just starting out on your content creator journey or you're a seasoned pro, Audio Technica has the products for you. Alan, welcome back. Player 2. Are you feeling better
Happy to be
now?
back.
You feeling better?
Yes,
Full
I'm
strength?
doing a lot better.
Yeah. What took you out? Was it like a cold? Was it like allergies? Like what was it that had you laid out last week?
Oh, it was just a cold, a nasty cold. Like it was long lasting though. Like most of my time was just in bed, kind of just watching reruns of The Office or Parks and Rec. Like I didn't really even put any time to Final Fantasy VII just because like I just felt that miserable, and I was like I didn't even
You're like,
want
I'm
to
just gonna lay
play at
here and
all.
just like drift in and out of consciousness while occasionally chuckling and while something funny happens on the screen. Like that's the sort of energy level you had.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just sleeping most of the day, and then
Yeah.
kind of like weird sleep schedule because you kind of up at night coughing or whatever, and then back to sleep.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, you were missed. I took a little time, chatted a little bit about Akira Toriyama and some of the Mario events, but also this past week, while you weren't looking, I ordered a Steam Deck. Uh, so um, I I've been thinking about getting one. I talked to my wife about getting one before, and we kind of came back to this idea of, well, like you don't really use it, your travel devices a ton. Like you've got your PC, right? You've got your Steam set up on your PC. It's sort of redundant. You're not really playing games a bunch on the couch. You're not really, taking it on the go. So it seems like it would be redundant and you probably wouldn't use it. And then I came into some money that I wasn't expecting. Not taxes, something else, but I came into some money and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give the Steam Deck another look because I have some extra funds here that I'm kind of interested in. And honestly, I was interested in picking one up for the PlayStation Remote feature as well, because not only can the Steam Deck run the Steam games that are optimized for it, etc., but it also serves very well as an emulator and as a remote player for the PS5. And I don't have a PS Portal. I've seen a lot of kind of mixed reviews on the performance of the PS Portal, and so I was like, okay, let's knock out two birds with one stone here, or three birds really. I'll get a Steam Deck so that when I travel to PAX and I'm meeting with these indie game devs, if it's optimized or whatever, I get a code, I can have it right there in front of me. I can play it that night in my hotel room and get some initial thoughts, and then, be more informed when I'm drafting those quick reviews or quick initial thoughts or insights. And also have an emulator for some of the older games that can't really find or get anymore, and then also have my remote PlayStation player as well for my PS5. So I thought that was all worthwhile, but not for the OLED price. So this is where I know you were kind of, it's funny. I posted on Twitter when I got mine, and I tagged Tim Geddes, and I was like, "It's not OLED. I'm sorry, Tim." And he liked it. I think he appreciated that. But essentially, I wasn't ready to spend the money on the OLED version for those things. Like, I feel like I could scratch all of those itches at the LCD price, which is why I went with an LCD model. I got the 64 gigabyte, but then I bought an internal SSD and then did the upgrade myself. So to make it a terabyte instead. So I got a terabyte SSD to slap in there Um, and so now I have essentially a terabyte Steam Deck. And it's been pretty awesome. I mean, I set it up for PS5 remote play. Um, that was a little bit of an adventure, like getting everything all sorted out, but I got it figured out. Um, and I've been playing Vampire Survivors on it. I downloaded Balatro for it. I've got Hades, Stardew Valley loaded on there. Some of those other titles that are just kind of easy to pick up and go. Um, and yeah, I'm excited about it. So I don't know, Alan, if a Steam, I don't recall from the last time we had this conversation, like where are you when it comes to, like, do you see yourself getting a Steam Deck at some point in the future? Or are you holding out for like an upgrade to like the Asus ROG Ally or another company that might pull it off a bit better?
Honestly, I'm kind of stuck between waiting and just getting one. But I mean, like, I need to save up anyway. Like, I can't afford to get one right now anyway.
Right,
So
right, right.
at this point, it's like, whenever I get the money and I have enough, I'll see what's available, and if there, are there any rumors flying around that something better is coming, down the pike very soon. I'll make a
Hmm.
decision then. But like, I am definitely very jelly that you have one and I don't.
Yeah.
Now, first off, now that you actually have some like hands time on it, do you regret going with the LCD? Do you think the OLED would have added a lot?
I mean, that's the thing, is I think having the OLED means that I could support higher resolution when I'm doing my PS5, like PS Remote Play, for sure. But otherwise, the games that I would be playing on it wouldn't necessarily. I mean, okay, that's not true. Like, playing anything on an OLED screen is going to be brighter, better, etc. But I think for the majority of the games that I would play, it's not enough of a difference that it was worth an extra like $250. Like, um, so, and I'm perfectly content with the quality of the LCD screen so far. It's big, it's beautiful. It definitely satisfies all of the needs that I have on that system.
Okay, for sure, stay away from anybody with an OLED one because once you see it, you might go like, "Oh crap, what did I do?" So my other question is, did you end up going like with a refurbished one to save even more money?
Well, that's the thing, is the refurbed ones were sold out. Like,
Really?
when you go to Steam, if you go to look at the old, like, they had refurbed ones, but they were all sold out of those, like, and like pretty much when the OLED rolled out and they cut all the prices on the standard LCD, they had those limited amounts for the for like the refurb, or some other versions that they were like deeply discounted, like 250 or something, or even maybe less. And those were all gone through the Steam store. And then I was checking on eBay as well to see if I could find a good deal on like a used one from somebody or something. But ultimately, the 64 gig versions that were on eBay were pretty much the same price after you accounted for shipping and paying tax through eBay, because you have to pay tax through eBay. And then, the other ones that were like a terabyte or whatever were upcharging like crazy. Like, yeah, it was kind of a mess. So I'm like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna get the 64 through Steam directly, and then I ordered my terabyte SSD via Amazon, and then I just kind of did the upgrade. So
So now that you actually have one, has it changed the way you game more than you thought it would? Has it been more transformative than you thought it would be?
I mean, not yet. I mean, it's a new toy, right? It's like a shiny new thing, so I'm definitely more interested in like picking it up and playing with it. Like I said, I played some Vampire Survivors. Like, I took it into bed and I played some Vampire Survivors before bed the other night, which obviously I wouldn't have done if I had it on my computer. Um, and so yeah, I'm interested in exploring the different ways that it might encourage me to um, game because of the lower activation energy, right? Like, if my PC is off and I'm sitting there and playing some Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this for now. Like, now I can just turn on my Steam Deck and jump into a PC game, like jump into something in my Steam library much easier than I used to be able to. And so I think for me, that lower activation energy will result in me playing more of my Steam library. That's yet to like bear out. Like, I don't have enough data yet to see if that's true. I can, I'll keep reporting back. Maybe next week I'll let you know. But um that's how what I'm hoping. That's what I'm expecting will happen. Is that now it's a bit easier for me to just like kind of pick up and be like, okay, cool. I want to jump into my Stardew Valley save, or I want to jump into playing some Balatro, or I want to jump into playing whatever. Then I will. I'll just be able to and be able to play it.
I think it'll be interesting to kind of check back in with you, like kind of in the summertime, like maybe. Well, I don't know. You can't really say it's post E3 anymore, but kind of like after Summer Games Fest, basically, to
Right. Right.
see
Yeah.
how it's all shaken out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I mean, again, I'm really interested in utilizing it when I go to PAX. Like, I'm not going to PAX East this week, which is kind of a bummer, but WonderCon's next week, so I'm like, I can't do two like back to back cons. My work would kill me. So, um, but PAX West around Labor Day, I'll be really interested to see how that applies there when I go and I'm chatting with devs and they're like, oh yeah, it's on Steam, or we have the preview out or whatever, and it's Steam Deck compatible. And then I'm gonna be like, cool, great. I grab that game, I check it out that night, right? I'm drafting my initial thoughts, and then I go back to the booth, right? And I'm able to say, hey, I played your game last night for like an hour, love it, this is cool, like have more of that hands-on experience that they offer demos and stuff in the booths, but typically it's pretty constrained. They don't have as much bandwidth there, and so having my own personal system to travel with and play on will help me in that circumstance, I think. And then you know more general Steam gaming, I think, will happen too. So I'm excited. um Okay, so that's my Steam Deck update. I also kind of there are a couple games coming out in just a few short days. Some of them more, at least one of them being one of the more anticipated games of this year, which is Dragon's Dogma 2, uh, right alongside Rise of the Ronin and Princess Peach Showtime. Um, and so of course, Rise of the Ronin caught my eye, and I was interested in it for a while, and we're starting to get some of those initial reactions from the first couple hours of gameplay, and unfortunately it seems very like middle of the road. So there was a bit of like a guess the Metacritic score type thing, and I said 76 to 78, just because if the discourse around it is to be believed, it seems like it's got a lot of the same elements of like an Assassin's Creed and things like that. And, it's trying to appeal to that Ghost of Tsushima crowd, but not necessarily executing it at that very high level, which I think ultimately is going to be, is falling flat with some folks, which is too bad. I mean, ultimately I'm going to give it a shot and see what I think of it myself. But I don't know. Have you been seeing a lot of the same, or do you have any thoughts or excitement around this game coming out?
No, like when they had that, it was a PlayStation State of Play, I think, earlier this year, and they showed off Rise of the Ronin. It kind of felt like that. Like it seemed like it has some interesting movement mechanics with that whole, almost like a glider that the character can use to,
Yeah,
and then
the
also like,
glider is like a highlight for sure. Yeah,
yeah, he also has like a, I don't say like a slingshot, but like a little, like a
grappling the
rope.
grappling hook, right? Or
Exactly, the grappling hook that he uses to
yeah,
move around. So it seems like that looked interesting, but other than that, it just kind of felt, like a swimming in sevens type of game. So, and it seems like that's what it is.
yeah, yeah. So again, hopefully it for the folks that are looking forward to this game, I hope that it is stronger than a 70 something for you. I hope it feels like a strong 90s for you, but I think ultimately we're going to see some sort of middling reviews. However, on the flip side of that, I think it'll be interesting to see where Dragon's Dogma 2 lands, because I'm kind of wondering if it's going to be a sort of sleeper hit, kind of like a breakout hit. Like last year everybody was expecting like Starfield to kind of run away with everything, or Spider-Man 2, and then Baldur's Gate 3 shows up and just cleans the floor with everybody, right? I'm wondering if Dragon's Dogma 2 will have a similar experience, because it looks pretty ridiculous and in a lot of the best ways possible. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I saw some people messing with the character creator that they released for it.
Yeah, people are going nuts in that character creator, kind of like when the Baldur's Gate 3 character creator came out. But yeah, people going crazy on that. So we'll see how it goes. But enough about all of that. We've got a few stories to talk about today, three stories, in fact, starting with the PS5 Pro specs leaked in more detail. This is from IGN.com's Wesley and Poole. The article starts specifications for the unannounced PlayStation 5 Pro have leaked online, revealing the power of the console Sony reportedly plans to release during the fourth quarter of 2024. The specs list first emerged via YouTube channel Moore's Law is Dead, before Insider Gaming claimed they were real, and a subsequent Insider Gaming article added further detail. IGN understands the leak specifications are real and emerged from Sony Interactive Entertainment's developer network. Sony has yet to comment. The headline improvements here are to the CPU, which is said to be identical to the standard PS5 CPU, but with a high CPU frequency mode, which amounts to a 10% increase to 3.85 gigahertz, and the GPU, which enables faster rendering and a higher quality ray tracing, powered by 33.5 teraflops. It's a lot of flops. The standard PS5 offers 10.28 teraflops. However, a direct PS5 to PS5 Pro comparison would work out at around 10.28 versus 16 to 17 teraflops. Of particular interest, the PS5 Pro is said to have an upscaling / anti-aliasing solution called PSSR, or the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaling, custom machine learning architecture, and an AI accelerator. Elsewhere, PS5 Pro has a detachable disk drive and a terabyte of storage space. Sony is likely to release the PS5 Pro later in 2024, and the souped-up refresh is reportedly designed to boost interest in the PS5 ahead of the release of Grand Theft Auto 6 in 2025. Alan, what do we think about this PS5 Pro link? Are you interested? Do we think it's the right move here? What are your thoughts?
I'm hyped. Like I ended up getting the PS4 Pro. I plan on getting the PS5 Pro, especially because my PS5's power supply, I think I told you earlier, was doing like this weird buzzing thing. Like it works. It's just super annoying. So I'm ready for an upgrade whenever we get it. Like it's obviously gonna be packing, a pretty decent graphical upgrade, and then the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution upscaling, which is like a crazy mouthful, but that also looks to be really cool. Like one of the things that I really loved when we started this generation of Xbox Series and PlayStation 5 was being able to play so many games at 60 frames per second. And like I'm that guy now. I'm like, I want that 60 FPS. I don't want to go back to 30 FPS. I'm like the
Right.
Digital Foundry guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's even gotten to the point where like, because I got sick of everything, I haven't played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in a bit, and they kind of said like, oh, we're gonna have a patch for the 60 FPS, but so I'm kind of just waiting now for the patch. And it's even to the point where I'm like, maybe I should just wait for the PS5 Pro to get the best Rebirth experience. Like I'm that guy now.
Dang, you are that guy. Dang, you got the pin, you got everything. Yeah, I don't know if I would wait that long. I mean, I'm already kind of knee deep into it, but I had the PS4. I got the PS4 Pro when it came out because I wanted to get that higher definition experience. I think I got the PS4 Pro. Gosh, I remember there was a title that I got it for specifically. And I'm trying to remember what it was now. It's totally slipping my mind. But I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to get the PS4 Pro and this game is going to look so much better. Maybe it was God of War. It might have been God of War. I don't remember. But so now, with the PS5 Pro coming out, we are about 4 years into its life cycle. They had already mentioned how the PS5 is nearing the end of its life cycle, and so this sort of half step is sort of in line with the cycle that we've had so far, right? Like it's not a full refresh. It's sort of like how the iPhone, they have the 14 and they have the 14s or whatever, right? Like they have that sort of half step every other year. It's kind of the same principle here, right? Where the PS5 has the PS5 Pro, and then that'll be a sort of half step until we get to the next generation, the PS6, and what all that brings. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go for it. I'm still on the fence. I guess it would depend on a few things. Like if the inventory is good, like if they figure it out their inventory supply issues, If the pricing is right, that sort of thing, maybe it might pique my interest. But as it stands, again, I just picked up my Steam Deck. Like I got a lot of consoles to support. Like I feel like a busy father, like I got a lot of consoles around here I got to take care of. I got my Switch, I got my Steam Deck, I got my PS5. So um, I just think I'm pretty good where I'm at. I would need to see some pretty compelling, I think, technical demos of the PS5 Pro to really sell me on it. And I think that's what I'm really interested in seeing next. Like when they announce it officially, seeing some comparisons, like in a state of play or a showcase to say, okay, if you're on the fence about getting the PS5 Pro, here are the reasons why you should make the upgrade. And Sony, I think, really needs to make that sell strong because a lot of people I'm seeing the discourse online are frustrated with this whole process because people are barely getting their hands on the PS5 now, and the console's been out for like 3.5 years. So for them to say, "Oh yeah, now there's this new PS5 Pro," they're like, "What the hell?" Like I just barely got the PS5. So I'll be interested to see what Sony does in the marketing campaign for the
I
PS5
think they
Pro.
unleashed the Cerny again. They did the way they did with PS4 Pro. Have like a big event where he comes out, gives us all the technical nitty gritty because that's who Mark Cerny is. That's what he likes doing,
Right.
and showing off games that will take advantage. Kind of like I can't remember the name of the game. It's like that biker game that did not do as well as they would hope it did. And they were really touting the PS4 Pro working with that specific game.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe like a Gran Turismo technical demo or something, or something like that is what we would need to really get people bought into the PS5 Pro, myself included. I think so. We'll see.
I
We'll
think
see.
what's most exciting too is like remember one of the early leaks from Moore's Law is Dead, that initial video that we covered a couple of months back. He spoke that about how Sony's looking to make it kind of be sort of an automatic, more automatic, like without requiring any real input from developers, so that
Mm,
it really like to really justify having that box and not necessarily needing developers to go in and like do any code changes. So if they can actually pull it off, that would be interesting. And also pricing too will matter. Like if it's like a $700 box, then like I'm probably not in.
yeah, yeah, for sure. The pricing will definitely be key. So we'll see. But on the topic of hardware, our second story, Sony reportedly pauses PlayStation VR 2 production to clear backlog of unsold units. Again, this is from Wesley and Poole at IGN. Sony has reportedly paused PlayStation VR 2 production in order to clear a backlog of unsold units. Bloomberg reported sales of the $550 virtual reality headset have slowed progressively since its launch in February 2023, causing a buildup of stock. According to the site, Sony produced well over 2 million units. The relative success of the PSVR 2 was called into question earlier this year when Sony announced a number of upcoming games for the device, none of which were from its first party studios. Then, as part of a wave of devastating layoffs affecting 900 staff, Sony's VR focused London studio was earmarked for closure. IGN investigated the state of the PSVR 2 as part of a feature that painted a grim picture of Sony's VR headset, which looks abandoned at this point. 6 weeks after launch, Sony announced PSVR 2 had sold nearly 600,000 units. Analysts suggest it sold just over 1 million units in its first year. Last December, SIE's head of global business, Eric Lempel, told the Financial Times that PSVR 2 was a bit of a challenging category right now, adding he thought there was a higher expectation generally for what VR would do to gaming. It appears PSVR 2 sold poorly during the 2023 holiday season. Road to VR tracked the Amazon sales of the MetaQuest 2 and 3 compared to the PSVR 2 during the holiday season and found Meta's headset significantly outsold the PSVR 2. Um, Sony is currently testing compatibility with the PC, which it said would allow PSVR 2 players to access more VR games via PC, and this opens the door for users to access more games otherwise unavailable, but does not address the lack of first party support from Sony itself. Uh, Shocked? Surprised? Not really?
Not really. This is such a weird strategy by Sony. Like they produced enough to make it seem like, oh, you actually believe in this, but then they released software that's like, no, you don't believe in this at all. So it's such a weird disconnect. Like what happened between the hardware side and the software side and the marketing side and every other side. Like you know, maybe going to PC can salvage it because from the reviews that I saw at the time of release, a lot of PC players like, yo, this is an amazing headset. I want this on PC because I'm just not a PS5 gamer.
Hmm.
And now that they're actually going to get it, I'm hoping and I'm wondering if they're kind of counting on, supporting it well and making sure it works the way people, expect it to work for it to be functional and to not feel completely broken. And maybe that can spur sales again because it does seem like on the PC side it would be a good value compared to what you can get on the PC side in terms of what the technology they have inside, the VR headset and the controllers and everything else.
Hmm.
And yeah, it totally makes sense that the MetaQuest would outsell it because I mean, even the newer MetaQuest 3, I think it's like 400 to 500, but like
Yeah.
that's it. That you're done. With the PSVR 2, you need to spend 4 to 500 on the PS5 and another 550 for the headset. It's a much bigger ask. It's just shocking to see that they only released like 3 games total for this. Again, just really weird. I don't get it. I guess at a certain point they had invested so much money that like we got to just release it and just see what happens and hope it catches fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I've played a handful of VR titles. I've tried out the VR experience, and you know, there have been a couple of experiences where it's like, hey, you know what? Like I can see the potential in VR. I can see the applications for this, but it just hasn't sunk its teeth into me personally. And I think the broader gaming community as a whole just isn't bought in on it, right? So um yeah, I'm not terribly surprised that the hardware isn't performing as expected, and time will tell. I think ultimately they will end up shuttering this piece of hardware and kind of going back to the drawing board on you know on partnerships they might take, other hardware they might incorporate with some of their first party titles. There might be other ways to get into the VR or augmented reality or mixed reality spaces, but placing it on their own dedicated hardware, uh, I don't know if it's the sustainable long term path for them. So, and speaking of a long term path for Sony, our last story is there's a lot riding on GTA 6, and not just for Rockstar and Take Two. This is from Wesley and Poole at IGN. Amid mass
Wesley's working out there.
Wesley is working. He's hustling. Shout out to Wesley and Poole putting this stuff out. Amid mass layoffs, studio closures, and high-profile AAA flops, the video game industry is currently suffering one of the worst periods in its history. Revenue-wise, it's also struggling. According to U.S. sales data tracking firm Circana, 2024 game spending is set to end up down 2%, and that's the most optimistic outlook. Explaining Microsoft's shock mass layoff that affected nearly 2,000 staff at its gaming business, Xbox boss Phil Spencer said the industry had failed to grow the gaming audience in recent years, especially on console. But there is one bright spark looming over the horizon: Grand Theft Auto 6. In an interview with GI.biz, Circana analyst Matt Piscatella said Rockstar's surefire hit will spark renewed interest in video games before going one step further. There's probably never been a more important thing to ever release in the industry, so no pressure. um, the article goes on to say, clearly there's a huge amount riding on GTA 6, and not just for Rockstar developer Rockstar and its owner Take Two. This is a game some analysts predict will end up as the best-selling game of all time, the kind of game to break entertainment records. In 2013, it took GTA 5 just 3 days to surpass $1 billion in sales, becoming the fastest to that figure in entertainment history. GTA 6 could hit $1 billion in 24 hours. All that money flooding into video game retail will obviously boost the bottom line of any company that stands to benefit from the sale of video games and accessories, from Amazon to GameStop, and of course Microsoft and Sony, which sells games via its digital stores. Um, and again, it goes on to say, Sony is expected to release the PS5 Pro later this year, and that GTA 6 is the kind of game that will sell consoles. So it'll not only help to sell the PS5 Pro, but also whatever hardware Microsoft plans on releasing any sort of refresh there. I feel like this is sort of a broad, like a very bold argument to make, Alan. So I'm curious your thoughts on this idea that GTA 6 is like the single most important game to be coming out for the industry in a long time. Like, do you agree with that assessment?
Honestly, I'm kind of shocked because it feels like the industry has kind of gotten to where it's gotten because it's grown to rely on games like this. These because I'm sure that it'll end up costing Rockstar an insane amount of money to make Grand Theft Auto 6, just judging by, playing Grand Theft Auto 5.
Sure, sure.
And just how long it's taken to come out as well, like all that development time, the resources to put into it. And again, it's like, did we not learn any lessons? Should we be banking on smaller experiences to kind of like, yeah, sure, you kind of did okay with these, and then you found that one really cool gem that made you a lot of money. Um, and just to see how much everyone else is kind of like GTA 6 will save us, and like it's very weird. And it kind of feels like it'll be almost impossible for GTA 6 to live up to those expectations. Like as
Yeah.
amazing as Rockstar is and those developers are, they can miss. Uh so
I,
I'm hoping that it can live up. If it lives up to these expectations, it's gonna be an obscenely good video game. Like
yeah.
but I just think it's a bad idea to like pin everything on GTA 6.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think that there is a lot riding on this game, and putting so much energy and like financial um I don't know the right word, like financial success, financial outcomes, right? Like on this game specifically hitting with the broader gaming audience, like that can be dangerous, like Starfield. Well, okay, I will start by saying like Bethesda has missed more than Rockstar, right? Rockstar hasn't really had a sort of swing and a miss moment like Bethesda's had in the past with like Fallout 76 and things like that. However, people were expecting Starfield to be the defining moment for the Xbox, right? Like this was supposed to
This
be,
generation.
yeah, arguably the generation as well, right? Like this was supposed to be the game that delivered on the promise of an not an open world game, but an open universe game, right? Like more so than Sean Murray's No Man's Sky, like to have the robust leveling and interpersonal, mechanics and everything else that comes with a Bethesda game set on the broad tapestry of the known galaxy, the known universe, and beyond. And it ended up coming out and swimming in sevens, right? Like, or in low eights. And that was like devastating. Like, that was in no small part, I think, a reason why Xbox ultimately had to lay off 2,000 people, because they put a lot of their eggs into this Starfield basket and it missed big,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm worried that if the whole industry is putting their eggs in the GTA 6 basket, if for whatever reason this game doesn't land, like very,
It
very
feels like
concerned.
it being
Yeah,
good would still not be good enough.
exactly. Like it needs to have a 98 Metacritic, right? Like otherwise it'll be considered a failure.
It could sync the PS5 Pro.
Right. It could. I mean, I don't know. That's my main concern is I think that there's a lot of pressure and a lot of betting on this. And again, like it's not that Rockstar doesn't deserve our trust. However, the industry is changing, right? The demographic is changing and evolving. Like your gaming base is not who it was when GTA 5 came out. Can you count on that same base to be there when 6 comes out? And is it going to have the same level of buy-in from the new generation of gamers, right? Like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm still admittedly, right, transparently working through GTA 5 myself. I've been busy with Rebirth and getting my Steam Deck and work and everything else, but like, I'm going through that journey. I'm enjoying it myself. Um, but I don't know if, folks will, be interested in taking another journey in the GTA franchise, or at least there might be some, right? The folks that love GTA 5 and love what Rockstar does, but maybe the newer generation won't necessarily be there, and that can equate to those misses, right? It can make $1 billion, but you know, if it takes a week to make $1 billion, or a month to make $1 billion, or whatever, right? Is it going to be considered a flop? Is it going to be considered a failure? And then is that going to cause a domino effect of like, well, it didn't hit this, or it didn't hit that, and so this studio doesn't get this, and so we're closing this, and so on and on and on it goes. I don't know.
I know, because it'll be interesting to see. Because I mean, if you go to Twitch, GTA 5 is usually second behind just chatting. So
Yeah,
it does have at least that going for it.
yeah. I mean, it's still there. It's still there in the consciousness, and that's good. I mean, it's good that people are engaging in this game normally. And again, maybe it'll be everything they want it to be. Maybe every every dream that they want to pan out for this game will happen. It'll come out, it'll hit $1 billion in 24 hours. People will be chatting it up, doing all this crazy stuff, posting things on Twitter or X or TikTok, and maybe not TikTok because it's going to be gone. Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, whatever. And it'll be great. But there's also now it illuminates a path for a pretty um
Risky,
risky
troubling.
risky path. Yeah. So we'll
Kind
see.
of crazy though at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think we've seen the success of double A games, right? Like at least a couple, like Helldivers 2, and oh
Power
gosh,
World.
Pal World. There was that other one that just came out, that got better than expected reviews and people are having a lot of fun with.
Balatro, that card game.
Yeah, Balatro is fun. That's kind of like an indie runaway, which is interesting. Um, I need to dig into it myself, but yeah. So I mean, you just see the success of these different kinds of titles, and to your very first point, right? Like, there's been a lot of discussion about not putting so much emphasis and focus on these AAA titles, right? Like, you can achieve success with the double A titles, with the right studios, with the right focus. And yeah, this just seems like leaning very heavily into the traditional model of, let's make the biggest, baddest, craziest game we can. Let's spend $400 million on it. And then we'll turn around and we'll make a few billion or whatever, right? Like, but we will see how it goes. All right, so those are all of our major stories, but I think Alan, you had a deal for us.
Yeah, Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon is currently $24.99 at GameFly. So it is a used copy, but from everything that I read online, they're usually in extremely good condition, like the cases especially because they don't send those out. But even the discs are usually like they only tend to sell the ones that are fairly clean. You're not going to get a lot of scratches or anything like that. So if you don't mind buying a used game, $24.99, pretty good price for that game.
Yeah, and Armored Core 6 was great. I mean, in a year of real champs, Armored Core 6 was one of my favorite plays of the year last year. So definitely pick it up if you're a fan of giant mechs, of battlers, of FromSoft in general. I think you'll enjoy Armored Core 6 quite a lot. There's some really good voice acting in there as well. So, um, all right. I think that pretty much covers our show for today. So thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Alan.
Keep gaming, everybody.
See ya.